Welcome to Coinology, the podcast.
You ain't getting no money if you constantly worried about what everybody else got to say. If you constantly got your eyes on what everybody else doing, you ain't getting no money. When it comes down to closing a deal, I get it done. Every single one. I'm the certified deal closer.
Welcome to Coinology, the podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Coinology, Season 4. And I'm here today with none other than Naya Brown Matthews. Welcome to the studio, Naya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. I've been watching you for a number of years. And I've seen a major transformation over these last few years.
Yes.
So I was able to pull you out of that garden, huh?
Yes. Only special people could do that.
Because you were probably tied to that garden, right?
I am. I've got on my regular clothes today. Normally it's overalls and work boots.
So when you guys moved out there, did you immediately know that you were going to go into the gardening piece?
I wanted to take advantage of the land that we had, so I kind of saw myself, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it good. I'm going to do it good, so yeah.
I will say gardening has a certain amount of therapeutic something, right?
Yes.
I've always had a green thumb from being a little girl because my mom has a green thumb, my grandmother, my great-grandmother. But I never really had a lot of time to focus in it, right? During the pandemic, I was able to refocus myself, and I just focused so much on growing and building and growing during that time, and I found so much peace.
Yeah.
That actually provided me peace in the middle of the storm because during the pandemic, we didn't know what was going on.
Absolutely.
Was that around the same time you started with your gardening or after that?
It was post-COVID because I got COVID. I got COVID when it first happened. I almost died of COVID. So I knew that I had to change the trajectory of my lifestyle from the food to where the food came from because I was having underlying health issues, hypertension, high cholesterol. My husband had type 2 diabetes. And so when we started the journey, we reversed all of that. So we're no longer on medication.
Wow.
So I knew the root was the food, the lifestyle, and we changed that by doing what we're doing now.
I remember your story about COVID. I remember you were really scared during that time, right? Because that was during the time when you caught COVID, you were put into a hospital room by yourself. No one could come visit or see you.
That's correct.
Right. Did you think at that time that you were going to survive? What were the doctors saying?
Oh, absolutely. I went into renal failure, kidney failure from having COVID. And I remember when I was first admitted, first of all, I didn't think I was going to be a candidate for COVID because I didn't go anywhere.
Okay.
But it took one moment of me going to the supermarket to buy some produce. And right after that, immediately, like 2 days later, I started to develop the heavy breathing. Went to the hospital, passed out in the emergency room at Emory. They admitted me immediately. They knew I had COVID. From there to me I couldn't breathe. They put me on the machine. I was on the COVID floor, cold blue, all night long. That's all you heard. My cell phone was dying. Nobody could come visit. I just knew I was out of here. Scared me to death. And then there was this nurse, Ebony, that had showed up, and I still can't find this nurse to this day. This nurse came in there. It's like that's when the kidney failure, the numbers were up through the roof. And she said that I had a calling on my life. No cap. This is real, like a real. And she said the only reason why she was at the hospital was because they had to bring in nurses out of retirement to help with the numbers of COVID. She came into my room it was 11 p.m. to check in on me, and she said I had a calling on my life, and right then, it's like I felt a presence. I can't really explain it. Like when she left, there was this presence that came into me in this room while I'm laying on the bed, and my numbers reversed. Meaning it went from me going into kidney failure, renal failure to normal, almost in a stroke, like 2 hours time span. And I posted a picture of when the sun came up. The doctors came in there, and everybody had their hands on their hip trying to figure out how did this happen so fast. So then after I was discharged, because right after I went home, a lot of people weren't coming home after COVID.
No.
They were dying.
Did you have a ventilator?
No, it's like I didn't even get a chance to get to that point.
Well, because I know from what I hear is once you get that ventilator, it's a wrap. And this wasn't your first time facing death. So when this nurse or angel said you had a calling on your life, this was probably your third time facing, because you are a breast cancer survivor twice over.
Yes.
It was a young lady online, and she talked about surviving cancer, and she talked about surviving COVID, and she said her experiences with COVID were 100 times worse than fighting for her life through cancer. What would you say about that?
I agree 100%. With cancer, it's they've already created the recipe on how to overcome it if it's not, fatal, right? If you're not in stage 4. It was the unknown of COVID. People's trying to figure it out. You're a test monkey. It's like the movie Outbreak. They're trying to figure it out. So that was probably the scariest, I would say the scariest thing I've ever been through in my life, and to do it alone.
And for doctors to look at you and say, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't think I've ever lived a moment where the doctors said, I don't know.
Yeah. When they were so afraid to bring me food in my room, they would leave it by the door. My food was cold. Everybody was afraid to go in the room. Everybody except for that angel. Except for that angel. They were just so nervous, didn't want to touch me. Again, that treated me like I was an outbreak monkey. But baby, when I came out of that and got home, they put me in another 14-day isolation. I had to stay in the room for 14 more additional days. And I'm like, Lord, whatever the calling is you have on my life, I need you to hurry up and show me, because I've been tested time and time again. And I think it's setting me up for where I am now in my life.
Where you are.
Yeah.
So before we go to where you are right now, let's talk a little bit about Nia Brown before Nia Brown Matthews came to be. So Nia, where are you from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. So did you come from a 2-parent household?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
The traditional upbringing?
Absolutely. College town, went to college. My parents, I'm the oldest of 2 sisters. Two sisters. And so very traditional. They called us the Huxtables growing up.
Okay. You kind of look like Rudy.
If I get that one more time. So we came in that type of household, very strict. My father's very stern on us, very independent, find your own way, from Trinidad, like find your own way. And so I just developed that bossness. They always called me boss lady my whole life.
Okay.
And so, but in my town, you work, you go to college, you work, you get married, you buy the house, and that's it. There was no more than that. You get the gold watch, you work the job for 20 years, get the gold watch, and that was a life. I knew early on that I was bigger than that. So that's why I left my North Carolina.
You left North Carolina at that time. So you graduated from college, left, and what was next for you?
I was working for HUD at the time. I came to Atlanta for a workshop, and my father abruptly died at 50 of lupus. In the backyard with my daughter, right? Jazzy was 2 at the time. He died, and I'm a daddy's girl, right? Completely shook my life. And so I'm like, what do I do? Everything that was home reminded me of him. I came to Atlanta for that convention workshop thing. I came and I decided I was going to move to Atlanta. I don't know anybody here, never been here for about that one time. I put everything I had in a U-Haul, and I came to Atlanta, and I've been here ever since. 23 years.
23 years. So you moved to Atlanta, you pack up your baby girl, and you come here, HUD.
Yes.
And then, so how did you maneuver into entrepreneurship?
Because with working for HUD, that's Section 8, Section 9, public housing, it'll take a toll on you. That work itself is a very taxing type position. And it kind of took a toll on me mentally. And my father always was in the back of my head about working for yourself, finding your own way, being in control of your own destiny, per se, right? And so working that job tired me out. work endless hours. You cap that with your money, and I like a certain lifestyle. I just could not see me doing that for the long haul. And so I left doing HUD homes, going into single family homes. And I did that for 20 years.
So when you say went into single family homes as a real estate agent?
Yes.
Okay, so you actually
Investor, no, not agent,
as an
but
investor.
yes.
Okay, so you just walked away from your job.
Well, transition, you might as well say.
Well, you transitioned from your job with a baby.
Yes.
You didn't know what was on the other side of that.
I'm a risk taker. Have always been in my life.
Okay.
I believe that when you take risks and you believe in the thing that you're gonna do, you'll come out okay. I think a lot of people struggle with not wanting to take the risk because they like to keep things safe. They want to make safe money. They want to have a safe life. And I'm always on the other side of that because I'm a faith walker. I believe that when God gives you a vision, He'll give you the provision to match it. And so I've always conducted my life on that level because I'm a big faith person.
Right there. So and also back 20 something years ago, the real estate market was a lot different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
We ate.
It was very lucrative at that point.
Oh yeah, we ate.
Today is a different story, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Today, because some of the things I often ask, and I would love to hear your viewpoint on this. Is it even a smart thing for young college graduates to immediately go into home ownership? Today, with the market being where it's at and the price of homes being what it is today.
Real estate allowed me to have time freedom. I'm going to always be a big advocate for real estate, whether it being buying your own home, buying a land, whatever the case may be, because that allowed me to be retired at 40. I retired at 40 years of age because you start young, you finish early. My high school principal told me that. And so to have that plan, I'm going to always push buying real estate on one level. Case in point, my daughter's 26 years old, and she wants to rent. She wants to go to downtown Atlanta and rent a apartment and pay $400 in rent. Makes no sense to me.
Now, why does it tell me what is your viewpoint? Why does that not make sense? 'Cause I'm sure there's a lot of other 26-year-olds who want to do the same thing, right?
Right. Because I think they think about the responsibility that comes with home ownership. What if they don't like it? What if it's too much? What if I can't afford it? Or whatever the scenario they have in their head. But with real estate, my suggestion to my daughter was to buy a townhome or duplex of sort where she could stay in one and rent the other, and it pays for itself. Pays for itself, and you don't have to come up with that extra money to pay your mortgage. It also opens up a line of credit where you can go a line of equity, and you can go and pull that off and buy something more. And then the next thing you know, you're retired too at 40. Like you're starting young. To pay $2,400 for something that you cannot own is absurd to me. What do you think about that?
I know, I agree with you on that. And it's one of the things that I really want for my son is that once he finishes school, I want him to look at getting a multi-unit property. I think it's important because once you do that, you set yourself up from a perspective of not only living but also becoming a owner of more properties. I think is important. But I also think that the way that the society is set up today, it also is set up for these kids today not to be successful. So when we came out of school, the cost of homes were reasonable. I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, you can get a really nice place for $70,000 back then, right? Today, when kids graduate from college, they're expected to go out here and get a $400,000 and $500,000 loan. And most of these kids can't qualify for that.
Right.
And then two, even if they could, can they afford that?
Right.
It's just, I just don't know if today's market is set up for these kids to win. And then you're talking about foreclosures or tax lien property. They are far
it's not
and
like
few.
It used to be.
It's not like it used to be. So when your daughter says that, she's probably also saying, but Mom, it's just not the same playing ground it used to be.
So now we have to expand the reach of what you see. You know, if she does want to rent a $2,400 apartment, we still need to be looking in Macon, Georgia, for a duplex somewhere where
But who wants to live in Macon?
But you're buying. Well, I'm the one you buy in your holds, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
buy in your
Right.
holds.
Right.
You don't necessarily. I've bought property sight unseen before because the numbers look good. So again, I get it, but a lot of times people don't want to take the risk. They want the right now. They want to get that cute apartment and put the furniture in it and put it on TikTok, whatever the case may be. They want to live that life, but I'm thinking about the bigger picture. I'm looking about 10 years from now, not the right now. And I think a lot of people are just not thinking about the 10 years from now.
I think the reason being, too, Naya, is the life that we're living right now. Yeah. I don't know that a lot of people can even see beyond tomorrow. Like, it seems like since COVID, 10 years from now doesn't seem like it's something that many people are talking about because it feels different. The world that we live in does not, I will say, the world that we live in today is a different world than what I lived in on March 14th, 2020. Because March 15th, 2020 is when Trump diagnosed or he proclaimed that we were in a pandemic.
Yeah.
It seems like the world has changed forever. And I don't know that these kids can think about 10, 15 years down the road like we used to. I just don't know that their mindset is the same.
And it's because of all the adversities that we've had to deal with, right? Because they're looking at they don't want to think about tomorrow. I'm always thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about what I got to do tomorrow as I'm talking to you. I feel that, though, if you don't set a goal, right? You don't know where you're going. You don't set a goal, then how are you going to get there? You understand? How are you going to plan for that? How are you going to prepare for that? So I'm always thinking about down the road. There's prophecies that were probably spoke over our life. That stuff got to come to pass. And I'm not thinking about what's not going to happen. I'm thinking about it is going to come to pass. And I want to make sure I'm in alignment to get to that space that was spoken over me. You know what I mean? Or where I see myself. That's all I got to think about. My daughter, I love her so much. I do push education. Now, I do know people say you don't have to go to college anymore in order to do this. I'm a big advocate of education. I really am. And if you're not wanting to go the traditional route, then you better YouTube University, Google University, whatever you feel like you need to do to get the information that you need to be successful. But I see that what does that look like these days? Like, what are people doing? Do they really think that it's necessary?
So for me, what I push for my kids is I want them to have options.
Yeah.
So I went to school. I obtained all the degrees and so forth. But I've also met so many people who did not go to school, who do not have all the degrees, and they're super, uber successful.
Yeah.
But what I want for my kids are options. I want them to be able to say, if I want to use my degree, I can use my degree.
Yeah.
If I don't have to.
Yeah.
I just don't want them to ever feel as if they're up against the wall.
Yeah.
So I think that option is there. But I will tell you, Naya, in my years of doing public relations, some of the most successful people that I have come in contact with don't have a degree. I do think it's good for us to have those things, but I will tell you that is not a limitation to success.
Yeah. But it starts within, though. Like, what kind of person are you? Are you a person that needs structure, right? Are you a person that somebody has to tell you to wake up in the morning and do what you do? Are you self-motivated? I think you got to be true to thine self. If you know that you don't have that discipline to do that, then you might need to go this route, because at least when you are an entrepreneur, you don't work, you don't eat.
You don't eat.
And a lot of people don't have that natural motivation. Like, when I wake up in the morning and I put my foot on the ground, that's a day for me to be able to do the thing. right? Like I'm getting up, I got a new opportunity, I got a new day to do a new thing. I think a lot of times people got to listen to these podcasts. They got to listen to, when I say podcasts, like they got to listen to motivational to get them going. Yeah, I'm self-motivated because again, I know the calling on my life. So I got to see it through. But there's so many people, my daughter's she's getting her master's in biology. She wants to go to the next level, and that's going to require education, not about who she knows, but if she wants to go to be a brown girl in biology world, she's going to have to get that piece of paper to match that thing.
Right. That's right.
So she knows what she needs in her life to do the thing that she needs to do. We just need to know, a lot of people don't know, what do they want to do even in their adult life.
I think what happens is that a lot of people, Naya, leave this earth not knowing what their purpose is. And every single person that was born and died had a purpose. And the most disturbing thing is to think that you leave this earth not knowing why you were here.
Yeah.
That is something else. But let's go back to it. So you had your daughter, you moved here, you became a real estate investor, and then you meet the love of your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you became an NFL wife.
Yeah.
Right? How did that all come about? Was that like a whirlwind experience or?
It was, we met off Facebook, okay? How cliche is that?
On Facebook, okay.
Yeah, he slid
in your DM.
He slid in my DM, yeah. And when he slid in the DM, I am definitely hard to get. Like I'm so old school. You're gonna court me. Like we're not fresh in anything. And so I the fact that he waited and he waited graciously for like 6 months of going back and forth, and we finally went on a hike at Sweetwater Creek Park. I wanted to see where his mind was, because football players, they egos or what the case may be. My husband is the most humblest. I promise you, it's like God gave me that one. He gave me my person, right? He is completely opposite of what I thought he would be, and that was what I feel like was a relief, because what comes with athletes. He didn't have the baggage, the baby mama drama. He was destined for me. He's my guy. Yeah.
So has this experience with being an NFL wife been a whirlwind experience?
To be honest, no, because we are still who we are. That's the thing that he accomplished, but that's not who he is. That's I'm a wife, but whether I'm an NFL wife or not, the thing about when you're confident in who you are, you could care less about the titles of stuff.
So, but stop. You said I'm a wife.
Yeah.
So, and you from North Carolina.
Yeah.
And the name of this show today is Southern Girl.
Yeah.
What does being a wife mean? So, when people say I'm a wife, what does that mean? What is it that you feel a wife should be?
Oh goodness, I'm a supporter, right? I'm domesticated, right? My mom, I watched my mom do that for my father.
What is domesticated?
Oh, baby, I'm the Proverbs 31 woman, okay? I cook the food. I support him. I take care of the home. I feed into his dreams. I pump him up. I do just about all of that, and then some. He got an idea, I'm going to invest in the idea because I know his full potential. Most people die. If you go to the cemetery, that's where all the potential is, because they die with the potential. I'm gonna pull that up out of you.
Okay.
That's the natural proclivity that I have. And so when you ask him this very same question, whether I'm in this room or not, he'll say the exact same thing. I'm the biggest supporter he's probably ever had in his life.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because I think as women, successful women, I think many people miss that mark about what it requires to be a wife. So most people say, I want to get married, but they want the big white dress, they want the big diamond ring, they want to be able to say my husband, my husband, my husband, my husband, but do they want the responsibility of being a wife? And I think that probably shifts to whom you're talking to.
Yeah.
But I think you are going back to biblically based.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you believe, as a Southern girl, that there are certain roles that a woman should play, or do you think it just depends on the relationship?
It does depend on the relationship, giving what the partner needs. Again, it's you know your person. What do they need in their life? Do you need a person to be dominant? Because some men like dominant women. I play my part accordingly. Whatever my husband needs me to be, because I'm a pivoter, I'll be whatever he needs me to be.
So what you're saying, in your household, the roof is here, and so it's all about what Eric needs, and then Naya will morph into what that need is, and that's how you have harmony in your household.
Absolutely. He's the yin to the yang.
Okay.
And it's vice versa. He provides, he protects, and he professes. Those 3 P's, we do that in our household because those were things that I needed in order to seal the deal to be my husband.
But how did you know? You just saw mom do this? How did you know how to be a wife? Because I think that's the thing. So many of our young African American women are being brought up in single family homes.
Yeah.
That they have this false perception of what marriage is, number one, because marriage is not always a glitter staircase. And that's why so many run for the border when they first see the first signs of trouble, because they don't know that marriage has its ebbs and flows. So my parents have been married over 50-something years. And so I knew that marriage would be ebbs and flows. So therefore, I've been married. In September, we will be married for 26 years. So I know that. But had I not seen that, I probably would have ran for the door the first sign of trouble. So how did you know?
The same. If my father would have been alive, we'd been married 48 years, and then Eric, my husband's parents, been married 58 years. So, and everybody around everybody's been married. I've always been around married people. And I love that. I love the unit of that. I love how better together you are. I love the how you complement the person by having the right person. So to be around that, I think I love to watch that growing up. And so I've always been a wife, if that makes sense. You can never just date me I've never been the one you date for 8, 9, and 10, and 12 years. I've always been a wife.
So you believe in that you must be a wife to become a wife. So a lot of these girls are looking to become a wife, but you must actually be a wife for a man to say, I'm going to wife you.
Absolutely. And I'm again with biblical, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, add into your life. I am with the epitome of that. The epitome of that. And I can honestly say, now I've been married before. My husband had been married before. My first husband, he passed away, and then my ex, their thing. But there's such thing as a soulmate. I know how weird that could sound, but there is such thing as a soulmate when you know the person is your person. That's what we have. And I can't really, I would love to try to explain that as much as I can, but he is definitely the rib. You know what I mean? Like when I say that, it just
But did you not
fits.
feel like that with the first husband too, though?
No, because growing up, I grew up Kojic, church, and you marry. Remember what I told you about? You get married, you go to school, you get married, you buy a house. So I did everything according to what I was taught to do.
That's right.
In that world, and you don't get divorced, right? Despite if you're happy or not, it's just you do the thing. So I bust out of that box.
But see, that's the challenge that I think a lot of people are having now too. Some people have never been, so they are around family members that have never been married before, or they're in families where they see horrible marriages.
Yeah.
So they don't really know, because if you talk to a lot of the folks out here now, Naya, people don't have a positive perception about marriage anymore. It's like, why do I do that? And I think about how many weddings have I been through lately, how many bridal showers, and you just don't see a lot of people getting married anymore.
You're right, because I haven't been invited to, I don't know when the last time I've been invited to a wedding.
I don't know that. I think that people have a different perception about marriage today than what they had before. And I think that people also put a success factor around, okay, I've been married for 26 years, but has that been a good 26 years? You got to ask those questions, because you will damage the kids that have to see Right. But
dysfunction.
in our life though, many times people just said once you get married, you just stay married. Like you said, the Kojic
They
lifestyle.
whether they were happy or not.
Whether they were
but
happy or
that was
not.
not gonna. That was I could not just stay in that. I'm a not a box kind of person anyway. So the minute that I feel that it's not serving me or putting me in alignment with where I'm supposed to be, I'm out anyway.
That's right.
Like, and
So
that's
you
on
know
all
when
levels.
to pivot.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen you through the years pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot. I think when I first came across Naya, I think I saw you on social media and you were the fly girl. You were fly girl. Everything was about what you were wearing and you were the NFL wife. That was your brand. You was the NFL wife, fly girl, writing books, real estate. Then I saw you transition, and then I think your focus began. You were coaching, and I remember you lived in the high rise, and it was about the high rise life. You were the city girl coaching. Yeah. And then a massive transformation was then now you're living in the countryside, gardening. Yeah. You had your own chicken. Yeah. It seems like the three different people, three different lives. Yeah. Do you talk to me a little bit about that? Because is it the same Naya?
It is, but like with anything, we grow, right? And we grow of whatever's conducive for in which you are, even with the world, think about it. I am a person of influence, right? They say I'm a person of influence, right? I look at, I study people, look at how the world is moving. I provide a service to what it is that I see in the world, right? Real estate, I did that, right? I served the world, but I did life coaching, reading, writing self-help books, helping people in that world. Then next thing you know, I started to pivot. Empty nesters. Oh, we enjoy empty nesters. Where my empty nester mamas and where they at? Let's talk about what that looks like without having kids. You got to reinvent yourself. Find the things that bring you joy. Then I start seeing the world change with the food. Something's not adding up. Everybody's getting sick, inflammation, especially after COVID. I'm like, what's happening here? It's the food system. Then I got to make sure with me, and I know it comes with great responsibility, I find a problem and I find a solution to the problem. And that's how my life has always been, because that's my calling.
Everything you touch, Naya, turns to gold. Because I remember, and it goes over the top. Yeah. Because I remember when you first moved out to your home, you just moved out there. It wasn't like I don't know if you and Eric had a whole strategy, but just like you guys just moved out there. And then the next thing I know, you guys were doing a decor. I was like, oh, this is so gorgeous. Next thing you know, it's going viral all over TikTok. And then I remember you guys were like, got eggs or something. And people couldn't, the eggs were being so expensive in the grocery store, and you guys had your own eggs, and you guys and then went viral. Then you guys, I remember when Eric built you the first little, I think it was your garden. Yeah. And now when you look at what he's built out in your yard, it is massive. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's definitely a labor of love. Yeah. But it seems like everything you touch, you put your all into it.
I do. It's funny you say that, because that's what they said. Now, every time you touch something that turns to gold, and it's like, I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to do. When you do the thing that you're supposed to do, and you do it authentic, you do it because you care, you do it with love, you master it, it does.
But how do you know? Listen, how do you know when it's time to pivot? Because your pivots aren't, let me change the color of my shoes. You go and change your whole outfit. Like, for instance, you went from being Naya with the 26-inch weave, the 5-inch heels, and designer bags every day, to now overalls all day. Yeah. You're out there, your friends are now your chicken. Yeah. Yeah. That's a major pivot. So how do you know when to change?
I gave God my yes, and I know how that sounds, but when you give God your yes, I'm doing an assignment. It's bigger than me. Anything that I do is always bigger than me. I'm the most selfless person ever, because I'm always thinking, when I learn how to do something, I cannot gatekeep. I got to share this. And this by doing that has allowed me to go from 40,000 followers to 380,000 followers because I'm sharing something that I know the world needs now. And who's to say next year I might be doing something totally different?
And
I don't
it's
know.
okay. It's okay.
Absolutely, because you're never too old. When I don't know when people say that when I pivot, it's like I didn't want to look like I was a person just jumping from the next thing to the next. It's something that the world needed when I did the thing, and so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it well. And as you could see, what comes out of that is I'm thinking I'm just gardening for my own gratification. Oh no! Now I'm building these community gardens for mega churches. Now I'm doing garden workshops. You would have never told me I would be doing the thing that I'm doing, but you can't tell me that the world don't need it because we do.
What happened with the chicken? What exactly happened?
We were, and it's still kind of tender because we're rebuilding as we speak. But my husband and I went on a vacation to Mexico, and my daughter FaceTimed me because she has to go and check on the chickens while we're gone. She's my little chicken person. And so she FaceTimed me. She says, Mommy. I was like, what, Jazz? She says, it's not good. I was like, what do you mean it's not good? And she tried to turn the screen, but she was shaking so bad to show me 2 stray dogs had aggressively pushed down the metal fencing, and they slaughtered my entire flock for sport. I'm saying chicken heads and legs and guts and stuff everywhere. And they had took residence in it. We were only gone 24 hours. So they took residence, meaning they were just hanging out in the coop at this point.
My gosh.
And so they called animal control, and the dogs didn't have a chip. They were stray dogs. Nobody claimed them. And so because the story went viral, Fox reached out to us. This is the second time Fox have came to our farm. And everybody was just like, the world grieved for my chickens because they all got names. Our chickens are beautiful, and I make videos about the chickens. But I did not. I was gonna do it in private, like, because I'm mourning. But everybody loves the chickens, so I had to share with the world what happened to our girls. And when we did that, the messages of people who wanting to be a part of the rebuild, I was like, I don't ask people for money. I don't do GoFundMe. These people were in my inbox. We want to donate. We raised $4,000 in 24 hours for chickens because I shared that world with me. When I got on social media, I thought that you have to be polished and fake makeup done and all this stuff. And I was like, people don't want to see that. They want to see the authentic, the real, the vulnerable side. And when I did that, my entire audience changed. People from the UK, Canada, Africa. I can't even tell you, the fan base is ridiculous because I decided to be my authentic self. I decided to give people stuff with substance, something that they could take with them. And by doing that, that's that audience.
That's the audience. And I will say this. A lot of people think poorly or think a way about social media.
Yeah.
And I always tell people social media is what you make it.
Yes.
And utilizing it as a tool to grow your business. And I will say that you have done a great job of utilizing social media for just that, because you know what you know about Naya, and you know what you don't know about Naya. Right. And you've done a great job of doing that and utilizing. I tell people now, at this big grown age, if you're on social media just to be on social media without a plan, it's a waste of time.
Right.
It's a total waste of time. But, that whole pivot and shift and those things are very, very important. I know you're probably tired of hearing people compare you to Tabitha Brown.
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear a lot about that, right? But the funny thing is, before you became this version of Naya, I would have never seen the old Tabitha in you. Right?
Right.
So, do you see the comparison?
I do. My maiden is Brown. She's from North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. That's that Southern girl thing.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's that Southern, demeanor we have, the character we have. We do have some similarities. She loves her husband. I love mine. Humble beginnings to a degree. It's like we got a lot of similarities. But I've always said that, I said, God, if you trust me with this influence, if you trust me, I want to make the world a better place. And I know that sounds like a very big responsibility, but we all got the thing we're supposed to do with our life, right? We got
Right.
the thing. I want to be a Joanna Gaines. Like I see myself being a Joanna Gaines. And I don't know quite how he's going to get me there, but I got to show up. I got to show up my authentic self. I got to show up with whatever I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime, and do it to the best of my ability. And I believe he'll get me there.
Do you know what your purpose is?
Absolutely.
What is that?
To create, to help pull the potential out of others, whether they know it or not. I was a life coach before there was ever such a thing. I've always had this natural proclivity to come in and influence others, or to help pull out the potential so you could be your best self. And whatever that could be, via the screen, in person, retreat, garden workshops. When people come to my garden workshops, half of them don't have no intention of wanting to garden. They want to be in the presence. They cry. Some come to want to plant. I'm planting a seed, metaphorically. That makes sense.
So a lot of them just want to be in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something else, because it looks beautiful. So when they come out to the garden workshop, do they come to your personal garden, or are you guys meeting out somewhere? How do they?
No, they come to the part. And let me tell you something now, because I told you I'm a private person, Ebony. I don't do folks coming to my house.
Right. That's
so
why I'm surprised you let
I'm like, Lord,
because there's a lot of people coming.
listen, yeah, because we had to stop doing that just because people are weirdos. Like,
yeah. So you had some weird situations.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what? Give me an example of something.
People would find the address and they would pull up and they would park at my house in the yeah.
Okay, but see, did they have to find the address if you gave it to them because they're coming to
the workshop?
So it never crossed your mind being as private as you are.
Yeah, because I had to give to God the yes. I'm gonna tell you something now, because it's a method to this.
Okay, because I'm telling you, there's no way I could have those people come.
I don't even like company. Like,
right. I don't either.
I don't do company. So when he was like, show them, because I've never gardened a day of my life. Never. So this is God put the super on my natural kind of thing. So I gave him my yes. He gave me the instruction. He told me how to make the soil. He told me what kind of seeds to get. He put the super on my husband's natural. He's never been a builder.
Wait a minute. So your husband, this was the first, from building the deck and everything, because that deck is fabulous, girl.
Listen,
fabulous.
My husband was not a builder. I'm not telling you something. You're seeing it in real time. You're seeing it in real time. The gifts. That's kind of, a chamber has been unlocked and we're starting to do this thing. And it's not by coincidence that we're doing it in the time that we're doing it, because you're hearing about the food system. You're hearing about what's going into the food. You're hearing about people having health issues because of the food. This is not by coincidence. And mind you, I've only been doing this 3 years now, and you've seen how it's grown.
It is huge. But talk to me now. How did you feel comfortable letting all these strange people into your home?
I wasn't comfortable. I contemplated it over and over. I called my best friend. I called my pastor. I called my husband. I was like, this is something I got to do. This is like, what? I was like, exactly. I don't want to do this. But I did. And when I did, Ebony, when I tell you the opportunities that has come from out of this garden workshop, is getting me to the place that I'm supposed to be at.
Okay.
Because had I not did that, the opportunities of me building community gardens within the community, me taking Elizabeth City Baptist Church in Atlanta, I built their entire farm out. We've never done that before. But I've always said that I want, again, it's bigger than me. Again, it's bigger than me. So by doing that, got us to this. And now the opportunities with, sponsorships and finances is coming because I said yes.
Let me ask you, and this is more of a thought around the food systems and things that are happening today. Do you really truly believe, or do you think it's a conspiracy theory, that our food is being poisoned on purpose?
But I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the root is the food. Yes.
So you do. So you believe that the food is on purpose.
Yes.
On purpose.
Yes.
And so, there's lots of prophecies, and one of my spiritual leaders has always said, Ebony, you must learn how to provide for yourself as far as your food and your crops and things of that nature. Do you feel as if we're closer to that time now than ever?
Without sounding like a weirdo, yes.
It's not a weirdo, because to me, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, because to me, if no other time, 2023 and 2024 proved that everybody that they said were conspiracy theorists were right.
Right.
So I do think that it's unfair too that if you feel or believe differently that people make you out to be a weirdo. I think that's
because even with using those people platforms, when I say platform, social media, if I say too much, you become shadow banned, right? I get censored. So there's ways around it, but you could still educate the people while being on those folks' platforms, because again, that's not my platform,
right?
But I'm gonna still be responsible with the information that I share, and you do what you want to do with it after that. Absolutely.
Do you still go to the grocery store?
For meat, my husband's a meatitarian.
Okay.
But we just recently found a person where we could buy the cows like whole.
So you would go in there and you would buy a cow with the head and you would just chop it up yourself?
So you find farmers who sell the cow whole, and you just say, for instance, you and I wanted to split a cow together. It's about $2,000, but you'll have the meat specific for your family, and it's fresh. And you fill your deep freezer up, and you're good for the year. That's smarter than going and buying a pack of, antibiotic type food. That's smarter to do. But if I could have it my way, there would be no supermarket visits. So I love to support local farmers. That's my preference.
And during this time too, Naya, I think a lot of people right now, I'm seeing a lot of people dropping dead from heart attacks. I'm seeing young people dropping dead from heart attacks. I'm seeing a spike in cancer diagnosis. Seeing spike in strokes. I'm seeing a spike in organ failures. How much of that do you believe is directly tied back not only to the food, but potentially the vaccination that they made most of the Americans take after COVID?
Oh, you trying to get us censored, ain't you?
I mean, I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. Do you think that there's a tie-in at all?
Yeah, because there's no money in a cure, right? Like, it's always the whole big pharma is where it's all feeding into, right? So you want to keep the people sick. You want to keep the people ignorant, right, to the devices, because when you do that, it fills the pot. It follow the money. It's all I could say.
Follow the money.
It's follow the money. And so, but to know better is to do better. So my part is, let's get to the root of it, and that's the food. Because that's what we're going to always, you got to eat. So my job is to educate you on where do your food come from. And if it's just you coming to a garden workshop, if it's taking a course online, whatever the case may be, I've done what it is I was instructed to do. And that's to educate my people and letting you know that you don't have to have a green thumb to grow your food, because you don't. Just like you making a commitment that you're going to show up every day, I make a commitment that I'm going to learn everything I can about soil, about the seed, about growing the zones, so I can educate the people. And if I've done that, I've done my part.
And then Georgia, our natural dirt is red clay.
Yeah.
And even once you put down the soil, that ends up turning into clay after a while too.
It's all about learning how to amend this Georgia clay.
Okay.
There's ways around it. I grow into the red clay.
Okay.
I grow things that people tell me that I can't grow. My friends visit out the country to go, and I said, bring me seeds back. I grow things from Thailand that I know that, again,
it's not supposed to grow in this zone.
That's not conducive. Exactly. That's what I'm telling you. You're watching it in real time. I don't have a background in this. I don't have an agriculture background. Again, I'm on a mission to educate and just show others that we just need to wake up on what we put in our body.
What I love about it too is from a Southern girl perspective, even if you look at what Beyonce is doing, she's making young Black people think differently about music and about culture.
Yeah.
I think with you're making young Black people in general, think differently about how we eat, how we live. Many times the excuses that many gave is, we can't eat better because of the demographics or the economic
Yeah.
parts of this. As we come to a close, though, if you are in the inner city, if you are a lower income individual, can they live this life that you're talking about?
Absolutely. There's ways to grow food. We're thinking out the box now. We're not grandmama and them. Like, it's we may not have access to acres of land. But you can have, there's grow bags and containers. There's so many creative ways to grow food now. And because we're innovative, you don't have to have those excuses anymore, is what I'm saying.
But think about it though, Naya. I mean, if I have three, let's say I have 3 kids and I'm on welfare, and I live in a Section 8 apartment, am I going to have the additional income to be able to go out there and farm?
No, you may not have the financial, but there are. Hence, this is why I feel like this is the solution to the problem. You have community gardens that provide food for free in your area. That's why.
Really?
Yes. That's my part. Like, I'm not seeing them enough, so I want to be the change that I want to create the change I want to see. People, churches have land, nonprofits have land, these places have land, and that land is laying dormant, doing nothing with it. I want to come in, if it's on my own back, if it's on my own dime, I want to come in and I want to turn that into a community garden for those with that exact same scenario, don't have access to that food in the store, but they can get it for free at the church. They can get it for free at that community garden. That's what I want to do. Create those hubs throughout our community so we won't have that reason as to why they don't have access to good food.
Yeah, because it's sort of like the way it's structured now. If I'm poor and I'm black, I don't deserve to be healthy.
Yeah. But these hubs I'm seeing pick up. Jasmine Crow, I love her. She has good food. Yes. I'm seeing community markets. I'm seeing people putting refrigerators up with fresh produce, and it's the barter system. It's people just putting fresh produce in there. You just got to find them. You just got to find it. There are things out there.
So what do they search? Where would one look up online to find these?
Local community gardens.
Okay.
That's you type local community gardens, you'll be amazed. A lot of people just don't know that they exist in their
I've
in
never
their
heard
own
of
area.
it before.
Absolutely. Douglasville. I live in Douglasville. There's about 6.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And how does one keep somebody from coming and gorging? Like, what if someone comes over there and try to get all of the cabbage?
We just pray that don't happen. But, people are people. But, what I really want to see, my husband and I have been having this conversation with him, is creating a hub. And this hub would be a resource for that very thing right there that you're mentioning. And for those who don't have access to land, you can rent out a garden box. That garden box is designated for you. And you come and you nurture that garden box. And if you want to get 2 or 3, you can. It's like rent a box. You go to the post office and you can rent a garden box, and that box is yours, and you grow your own food until you're able to do it at your own home.
That's amazing.
That's what I want. That's what I see for our community.
I think a little bit more education needs to go too for our community to also be okay with being patient, because being a gardener, you have to be patient.
Absolutely.
Right? And you have to be okay that sometimes your crop may die.
Yes.
And you just start back over again.
Absolutely.
And I've seen you do that over and over again.
Me and corn got a love-hate relationship. But baby, this corn this year was, you could eat it off the cob raw.
Okay.
That's how good it was. Now, me and garlic, my garlics have been like this tiny, and they're supposed to be this big. I just got to figure out what the amendment, what's the nutrient that it needs. But I never let it defeat me, because, and garden does teach you patience, right? And gratification, because you're growing something from seed. And my husband loves to harvest. Like, he literally every day, and I tell you, we get so much food. We harvest so many vegetables. He just enjoy coming in the house with this big bounty of peas or okra or peppers, and he just, who needs it? So he sends text messages out. Anybody need tomatoes? Anybody? And I'm like, now you get it. And so, can you imagine if we all did that?
Yeah. That's the way it used to be.
Yes. I'm living to 100. I'm living to 100.
Well, you know what? My grandmother turns 102 in October. And she actually, that's what I'm saying, they ate the chicken that they raised. The the cow,
Yes.
the fruits and vegetables. And I know it is the life that she lived.
Yes.
I know it is.
Absolutely.
I know it is. Well, as we close out, what's next for you, Naya?
Who knows, right? I pivot all the time, but for right now, I'm going 100 miles per hour in this space because I know that we need it in our communities. So, if we're building the hub, if we're buying more land, if we're finding investors to help us buy the 20 acres to create this hub for the community, that's the end goal for me.
That's it.
And I want that to be my legacy.
Well, definitely send my love to Eric and much love to you and all of that you're doing. I want to say congratulations on the growth.
Thank you.
I know that you're going to rebuild the chicken.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming out here today and sitting with us in Coinology. And thank you guys for another episode. See you next time. Welcome to Coinology, the podcast.
You ain't getting no money if you constantly worried about what everybody else got to say. If you constantly got your eyes on what everybody else doing, you ain't getting no money. When it comes down to closing a deal, I get it done. Every single one. I'm the certified deal closer.
Welcome to Coinology, the podcast.